So before the break, we did something kind of hypnotic. Wouldn't that be fair to say? So let's see if all this stuff works, the wonders of new technology. So remind me again, what is the fundamental, the 3 steps that all hypnosis has to go through? Anyone remember? ABS, right? What's the A stand for? What's the B stand for? And the S stands for? Absolutely. So we have stimulate the unconscious. So the A is for absorb attention. Does that work? Good. B is for bypass the critical factor. You will hopefully excuse my having abbreviations. And the S is for stimulate an unconscious process. Ooh, that's the wrong way around. Look at that. Can't do that on paper, can you? Okay, and the childlike writing will, well, there you go. The childlike writing will get better as we go along. So this is the fundamental of what we're looking to do with hypnosis, right? And all you have to remember here is, thank you very much, A, B, S. Do we have an A in terms of what we've been doing so far? Yes? What kind of things were the A? Eye contact. The compliance test was a little bit of it too, right? And then just noticing what happens to them physically when the eye contact matures and something happens. Would that be fair to say? Did we do something with the B? Yes? What? We did a tap in the back of the head. That's kind of startle reflex. You notice how when you, even though you know it's coming, and even though it's mild, did you notice how your mind went blank for just a split second? Not very long, but for a split second it's like, oh, there, oh, well, yeah, here you go. Would that be fair to say? S, stimulate the unconscious. Technically you've done it already, but you're, actually, in fact, what bit, or what point did you do it already? Stimulating the unconscious. Compliance testing, yep, it's a little bit. We're going to see how, if there's any resistance along the ways. What else did we do? Sleep. It's an instruction, isn't it? If you go sleep and they go, what? They haven't accepted the suggestion. If they go sleep and they go, would it be fair to say they've accepted some portion of that suggestion? Would that be fair? The other time when you've stimulated the unconscious is, believe it or not, when you trigger the startle reflex. What's happening is you have a little part of the brain called the amygdala. It's part of the limbic system. It's the mammalian brain. You know, you have the 3 brains, reptilian, mammalian, and the neocortex with advanced thinking skills and maths and all those wonderful things we all love. The limbic system, sorry, the amygdala is in the limbic system. Its purpose is to look out for danger. So anything novel, surprising, different triggers it. Now the beauty is, when it gets triggered, 3 things happen. Number 1, massive amount of attention gets directed towards the source of that stimulus. And it makes sense in survival terms, doesn't it? Because you hear a crazy noise in the jungle and suddenly there's a noise, you're going to have to put all your attention on that sound because it might be something big with sharp teeth coming to eat you. Would that be fair? Number 2, your regular thought processes get cut short. That's what you experience when your mind went temporarily blank. It wasn't very long, it wasn't very extreme, but for a split second, it was blank, right? Would that be fair to say? For some of you, the blankness lasted longer than others. Some of you might still be in it, which is great. Congratulations. But, you know, you have a small window of opportunity. Would that be fair to say? Yes? The instruction sleep comes in that small window. When the amygdala gets triggered, not only do you have the attention there, not only do you have the thought processes, the normal thought loops bypassed, which, by the way, if you're bypassing all the thought loops, what do you think's happened to the critical factor? It's temporarily bypassed as well, isn't it? Temporarily. You can come back on again. The final stage is stimulate the unconscious. Let me ask you this. Where do your emotions come from? Do you choose them? Do you say, right now I'm going to be happy? Ha! You can choose how to feel, absolutely. But you choose it indirectly. You choose it by reflecting on things that will make you feel good. You choose it by having thoughts that will make you feel good, by viewing the situation in a way that will make you feel good. Does that make sense to everyone? But you're not directly causing the good feeling like you would lift an arm. It's your unconscious that's doing that. When the amygdala gets triggered, you also amp up the emotional response. Has anyone here ever heard a joke, which at first you don't get? You're going like, what? I don't get it. And then very, very slowly this penny drops, and the next thing you know is you're crying hysterically on the floor. Your pants are already wet. That's beyond you now. And you don't care because you're having such a good time because this is a funny joke. Anyone have a similar experience to that? What you've experienced is the amygdala being triggered. That's how humor works. It's so novel that when you get the novelty, the track switch from danger to pleasure, and that's what that whole humor releasing of all that mental energy is doing for you. Does that kind of make sense a little bit? And instant induction does that. And you can do that in many other ways too. If you can master an instant induction, which you're very close to doing right now, then you can master conversational hypnosis because you're looking for the same things that are occurring physically to occur with language. Does that make sense to you guys? So let me ask you this. How many of you, when you did instant induction, they would sleep, the person went down the shoulder, you felt great. How many of you decided you were bored just hanging around then, you decided to do some other things, like that's right, a little deeper and so on? Hands up if you did that. Excellent, fantastic. The most important part of an instant induction, and really, I'd say all inductions, but it's particularly evident in instant inductions. Has anyone here ever tried to do an instant induction before today and have it fail miserably? Right? Would you like to know why that happened and how to prevent it ever happening again? Would that be of interest to you guys? Yes. The first reason it happened is because you didn't do your setup right. You didn't compliance test. The person just wasn't ready. You rushed them in a way that the mind wasn't following. Right? So when you said sleep, they didn't know what the hell you're talking about. Would you, as you reflect back on your experience, would that be fair to say you kind of rushed into the induction as opposed to letting the groundwork build up? Yes? The second reason, this is the second most common reason, is because people expect the induction to be it. You're inducted now. Stay there. I'm done. But that's not how the world works. The way trance works, let's try this way. If this line here represents consciousness, so up here, all this stuff here, let's go with blue, all this stuff here is normal conscious thinking, you know, hyper, a little bit calmer, and so on. Yes? As soon as you dip below the line, you're in what we would call trance. And instant induction just forces that spike straight down. Make sense so far? The problem is, as soon as you get to the spiking point, it slowly starts coming back up. Because the brain likes homeostasis, it likes to stay in places and kind of hover around them, right? If you stop talking here, the natural tendency over time will be for the person to come back out. Some people do it quickly, and when I say quickly, I mean in a fraction of a second. Anyone who tried an instant induction before have this experience, you go to sleep, they go like this, and they open their eyes and look at you, and you think, damn it! Anyone done that? The reason that occurred is not that you failed, is that you forgot to carry on. What keeps someone here is suggestions. If you don't give them suggestions to stay there, they won't. Even with their eyes open, believe it or not, they're still hovering somewhere around here in the trance zone. What you do next, what you do right after the induction, is more important than the actual induction. What you do before it, which is basically over here, compliance testing, and what you do after it, which is right here, those are the most important parts of the induction. And everyone focuses on the induction, sleep. What's the next induction? Okay, put my hand here and I'll do this, or put 2 spoons in your ears and shout, Dixie. The induction is virtually irrelevant. It's what you do before to prepare them for it, and what you do after to keep them in it that counts. Does that make sense to you guys? That's why when you had someone up here and going, that's right, that's good, a little more, and so on, what you're basically telling them is, stay here. If they started, let's do it in green here. If they started coming up, you're going, no, that way, that's it, there you go, good. Isn't that kind of the experience you had when people were doing that with you? That's why you're doing it. By feeling where they're at in terms of tension, tension and balance is one of the signs that you can use as to how much they're trusting you, how much they're releasing into this process. Does that make sense? You can do, by the way, hypnosis with no relaxation at all. You can do it with huge amount of tension and all kinds of other things. But you're still looking for the same kind of reliance, the same kind of trust in the process. Does all this make sense to you folks?
Yeah. When you say trust in the process, do you mean like for trust or you have trust?
So the question is, when I say trust in the process, you mean that I trust the process as the hypnotist?
Yeah.
Or whether they trust the rapport of the situation? So, yeah, we're looking for trust pretty much in every way. I need to trust the process. If let's put it this way. How many of you would enjoy this kind of trance? Okay, we're going to do some hypnosis now. Can I borrow your glasses a minute? Sleep? It doesn't inspire a great deal of trust, right? So it has been said that hypnosis is a confidence game. No confidence, no game. So you must go first. You must present to the client or the subject exactly what is expected of them, how wonderful it is to go into hypnosis, how fantastic it is, how well they'll do. You see, what can happen down here, a lot of the reasons why people will open their eyes at this point here, even though actually they're not fully out of trance, although you might think they are, is they just don't know what's expected of them. They've never been in hypnosis before. You know, sleep. What am I doing? Does that make sense? If you tell them what to do, then this becomes a response. We'd like to see what happens when it goes wrong and how to fix it. Anyone would like to see that as a demonstration? Can I have a volunteer? We'll just role play it a little bit. Come on up. Actually, you know what? You've already been up. I'm sorry. You haven't been up yet. Come on up. So I'm going to role play the situation a little bit because I have to do bad hypnosis to get there, so I apologize. I told you, you might have to almost want to get him to sit down. I don't know. Okay, so we've got this attention. I'm feeling good. I haven't really tested for compliance. I'm going to make a little mistake here. What I want you to do is when I say sleep, you just go down like normal and then just act like we just discussed. Like you open your eyes again and look at me a little quizzically. Is that okay? Okay, so look at me and sleep all the way. That's it, all the way. That's it. Close your eyes all the way. There you go, all the way. Releasing. That's it. There you go. Good. All the way. You're doing great. That's it. There. Did you notice what's happening right now? I'll put you back on your balance right now and then come back all the way feeling relaxed and fresh. Good stuff. Good job. Well done. Just stay here for a second if you could, just to answer possibly some questions. Assistants, could one of you get a mic up just in case we need to talk? So do you notice what happened here? Did it look, actually, it was actually great because Daniel actually went through the induction first properly and then he'd remember and say, oh, God, I've got to get back up. All right, here, looking. Wouldn't that be a little bit of the experience? Would that be fair to say? So what happened when he started looking up? Did it look like it had failed? Would that be fair to say? What's happening is, if Daniel doesn't know what's going on, he needs assurance. Has anyone here ever been a child? Oh, come on, folks. Don't play with me. Has anyone here ever been a child? That's a little bit better, right? Do you notice that then when an adult is asking you to do something, a lot of times children will check. Am I doing it right? Am I being approved of? Am I doing it wrong? Do you see where I'm going with this? That's all that's usually going on here. If you've done your setup correctly, the only reason why they'll pop up is they're checking. They don't know what's happening next. So then you just do exactly what we did. That's what the deepening phase does. Deepening in some respects is the wrong word. Intensification might be a better word, right? Stabilizing might be a better word. Because what you're doing is keeping them there. Does that make sense to you guys? Is there anything you want to say about what you experienced there, or are you pretty much good? He's pretty much good. Give him a nice round of applause, folks. Thank you. Does this help you guys? This is yes, this is no, this is, I'm still a child. So what we're going to do in a moment is I'm going to ask you all to get up, make sure your notes are somewhere safe. We're going to push things to the side a little bit, making sure we stay clear of the table in the center. And I want you to do the entire sequence again from, the casual invitation, the compliance test, the hold in the back of the head, the bring them in. Only this time you're going to have two things that could possibly go wrong. And you won't know when it is because most people will be nice to you. It's just occasionally, when you're the subject, every third or fourth person, decide on one of these two things to go wrong. Either, when it comes to the compliance test, they hesitate and complied a little bit less than with full enthusiasm, right? The other thing that might go wrong, it can be in the same induction or it could be in a different person, is when you say sleep, they'll go, boom, they'll look up, and they'll look at you, and that's all. You know how to deal with the first situation, do you not? Would that be fair to say? Any questions on that one? All right, a little feedback here, folks. For the second one, you just saw it demonstrate exactly what we do, which is you just do the deepening. You just encourage more of the things that feel and look trance-like. You encourage those in whatever way you feel like doing. I really don't care. Is that easy to do? So I want to give you 3 minutes, which gives you lots of time to work with lots of people. We're only going to do those things. Remember, with most people, you'll just go through the whole thing start to end nice and smoothly. Every third or fourth person, as a subject, you just decide, I'm going to give a little resistance on one, the other, or both of those points. And the person has to coach you through that. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, folks, find a partner, off you go. Was that easy to do, folks? Yes or no? Yes. Easy to do? Did one or two people trip you up at either point and you went, I could do something extra, yay? Yes? Would that be fair to say? Yes. Inductions, virtually all inductions are easy to do, provided you know what you're trying to do with them, right? If you understand the ABS formula, if you understand this sort of, cycling of trance, then it becomes real easy because you just join it at any point and you just hijack it one way or the other. The power here is suggestion, isn't it? Who here felt good as a subject at any point? Who here is starting to feel a little bit like a little woozy every time they go, he's like, oh, this is kind of good. You know what? Let me put it this way. Who here feels like when they say it's time to finish and come back now, you go, no, I want to stay here. Anyone have that experience at some point today? How can you be doing that? Because we're not even doing hypnosis yet, are we? So you understand the mechanics of trance now. That's what the instant inductions are really useful for. In a therapy room, by the way, you can do these things just as easily, just as naturally as here. How many of you, those of you who've done hypnosis before, how many of you have done this kind of instant induction on the streets, in restaurants with random people and so on? Would it be fair to say it works exactly the same way as you've just been doing here, out there? It works better. And do you know why it works better? Any ideas? Expectation, right? The amygdala gets triggered more, the surprise is greater. The faith in you is even bigger because as far as they're concerned, you really are the world's greatest hypnotist, which of course you are you not? Yes. The front row is convinced. I don't know about the back. Of course you are you not? Yes. That's much better. No missing steps. No missing steps. You've got to make sure that you cover your bases. If you skip a step and things go wrong, well, no surprise. You just go back and fix it. It's easy. Does that make sense? So we've got the idea of the instant induction and the deepener. Now I want you to introduce you a little bit into something you're doing within this, but haven't necessarily noticed yet, which is it's the law of association. The unconscious mind reasons through associations. Has anyone here ever had a dream? At this point, I would hope to see most hands up in the air. If your hand is not in the air, then you are either lying to me or there's something seriously wrong with you. So you all had dreams, would that be fair to say? Yes. And would it be fair to say that in dreams things happen that aren't common everyday occurrences? Yes. And would it be fair to say that a dream symbol, like maybe it'd be your friend, you recognize him as your friend, but somehow you also know that it's your father and your teacher from school when you were like 5 years old who helped you out one day. You know all these things at the same time because it feels like that. Would that be fair to say? Yes. The unconscious works through symbolism, which is another way of saying it works through associations. It's connected all the association needs to and put it into that symbol so that you understand or gives you a hint what's supposed to be happening. So, whilst the conscious mind fundamentally reasons through logic, the unconscious mind's main form of logic is the law of associations. Two things happen at the same time, they must be the same thing. We're going to start using this. Can I have a volunteer, please? Come on up. Put your pep and down. Give me a nice round of applause, folks. Thanks, Andrew. No induction. Just close your eyes. Maybe there was an induction. Oh, I'm sorry. Each time you feel this, I want you to go deeper. There you go. And deeper. And deeper. And deeper. Do you see the association beginning to occur? And you see the response he's getting? That's right. There you go. Very good. Standing your own balance. I'm going to touch your wrist right here. Each time it drops, even deeper. Oh, doesn't that feel good? And deeper. There you go. Fantastic. And you know, as you drift through that experience, something can happen in here as you go deeper. There you go. And deeper still. There you go. And deeper still. Now, in everyday life, how often do you actually enjoy being poked in the forehead by someone? Would it be fair to say that Andrew is experiencing things a little differently now? That is the law of association. It is the fundamental premise on which suggestion works. You suggest something, you tie it to something else, they must be the same. I can control the touch on his shoulder, and his unconscious mind can control the response. Is that easy to do, folks? Now notice that all my mannerisms are part of this. I'm going to apologize to you, Andrew, in a moment. I'm going to do something a little less than pleasant, just to warn you. It will not be painful or anything like that. Don't worry about that. And I will reverse it all right afterwards, just for demonstration purposes. You okay with that, Andrew? Okay. Deeper now! Not the most pleasant, was it? No. Close your eyes. That's right. Deeper, all the way. And I want to thank you for being a great support. That's right. All the way. All the way. And I want you to find inside exactly the same thing the other gentlemen up here discovered for themselves, which is, there you go, a good feeling that's attached to your ability to learn. Have you got that yet? Can you feel it growing stronger? I want you to resist the feeling and notice how it grows stronger despite, there you go. No matter how hard you try, it fills you up, doesn't it? Try, really try and resist it. And know that your unconscious mind is on your side and is really going to help you learn something. There you go. Isn't that an amazing thing? When that feeling really fills you all the way up and is locked inside you, you'll notice that your eyes will naturally open because that feeling is going to guide you through the rest of the week so you can really master hypnosis. Isn't it good to have your unconscious on your side? Thanks, Andrew. Great job. Give him a round of applause. So just because we're focusing on one principle, in this case it's the law of associations, does not mean that everything else goes out the window, does it? The voice should say, "Diga now," which is, of course, as good as, "Relax! Damn you! Or I'll give you something to get tense about." How well does that work? Because my voice is part of the associational track, isn't it? How many of you guys associate this voice with relaxing? Some people might, in which case it's the right voice to use. But it's not everyone. I'd say it's probably a very small minority of people. How many of you associate this kind of voice with a comforting, more relaxing voice? Right? So I'm still using the associations, I'm just putting them in the background as well as in the foreground. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? So the rule of thumb is, go first, feel the feelings you want them to feel. If it's calm and relaxed, be calm and relaxed. If it's energized and enthusiastic, get energized and enthusiastic. That will change your voice qualities naturally, and they will respond to the associations of that sound. Meanwhile, of course, you're doing your deepening cycles, and you're just going to, all you're going to be focusing on this session is the induction, which is easy, right? I mean, we even skip the induction, and then, oh, it still works, damn it. But you're now going to use the deepening cycle by creating associations. And it doesn't matter what it is. We had 4 or 5 touches there. The wrist, dropping it down, touching the shoulder, tapping the forehead, maybe rotating the head, anything like that. Does that make sense? Can I borrow you one last time, Andrew? Is that okay? Come on up. Have a seat over here. Because we're using the law of associations, and we know there are pre-existing associations, there are some associations which are useful for the idea of trance, right? Very good. You can close your eyes whenever you want to, it doesn't matter. But there are other associations which you don't want them to be triggering. Does that make sense? So please, keep the kind of touches, the kind of things that you use in the level of, the normal social responsibility. I would rather not have the police come here to arrest anyone for inappropriate sort of touching. Okay? So, shoulders good. Head can be good. If there's lots of gel on there, you may want to relax a little bit because they might be concerned about that, right? You can touch the forehead, you can touch the wrist, you can touch the knee. But notice there's a big difference between this. Once again, I apologize to you, Andrew, I'll remove this very shortly. And this. Big difference, isn't there? It's not in the touch. It's in our culture. Does that make sense? So stick within what is respectable and allowed within our culture, because you want to use all the associations that are allowed. There are some cultures that are very body shy, in which case you may not want to do any of the touching. Or you may want to do it on purpose because of that. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve. Do not overcomplicate things too much. Does the law of association make sense to you folks? You're doing great. Come on back whenever you're ready. Say again? You can use that in the deepener. You can use that in any portion of the experience. For now, we're going to use that as your guide for the deepener, right? So can you all think of appropriate places where you're allowed to touch a stranger? Yes? I want you to associate the process of deepening to that and do it. See what happens. Any questions? Quick question here. Mm-hmm. So the question was here, when I was doing the demonstration, I suddenly had this loud, horrible voice. So wouldn't that trigger the startle reflex and then so on? You're absolutely right. You would have that. But we've already done that process. The problem, the danger I have is, remember, the startle reflex triggers the amygdala. And the amygdala, its job is to look for danger. When your eyes are closed like this and someone goes, "Ah!" What do you think the amygdala will make of that? That danger is there. You do not want danger present because danger means whoever that person is, wherever that source is not safe for me. You've reached the bond of trust. They may still be in a trance. It's just a trance which hates you. And it can happen. So that's why I want to have things which aren't going to trigger that. Right? Notice how even the word when you sleep, we still be commanding, and even then it can be kind of harsh, but it's done within the atmosphere of you're safe, everything's going to go well, you can relax into this because only good things are going to happen. Does that answer your question? And there's another quick question here. What if you can't get hypnotized? We'll come on to that. Can you breathe? Yes. Do you sleep at night? Yes. Then you can be hypnotized. The only, and it'll make more sense as the days go by. The only reason people think they can't be hypnotized is because what is happening is something other than what they think should be happening, because they think hypnosis is this when it's that, and when that's happening can't be this. Therefore, they can't be hypnotized. Of course, realizing that hypnosis is anything but what you think it is, you'll realize that what's actually occurring is so much better. And if you want to call it something else, knock yourself out. Any other questions? One last question up here.
At some point, you would have to get them back up off the shoulder to do the association for the deepening, right?
So at some point you have to do what?
When they're on your shoulder.
Yeah, So at some point you have to get him off your shoulder, do the association and so on. Sure, experiment with ways of doing that while deepening trance. And then tell us all afterwards. Is that okay? All right, folks, time for an exercise. Everyone, please move all the chairs right off the sides. Going to use all the space in the middle. Thank you very much, Andrew. Give him a round of applause, folks. Thank you again. Everyone feeling good?
Yes. Yes.
Anyone here? All right, who's feeling good? Yes. Much better. Who's a master hypnotist? Yes. Okay, that's the response I'd like to see. So, what is the first thing you've done in all the induction process so far? What is the very first thing you started with? Absolutely, we're going to test for compliance, right? What do you do right after you have compliance? You do the induction, don't you? Sleep. Was that not what you did? So those are the things, so we'll call that whole process the induction, right? Because there's many ways to induce trance. There's many ways to get compliance, and there's many different ways to induce trance. But you recognize those two steps, which are putting into action the ABS formula. Would that be fair to say? What did you do next? That's exactly right. You started deepening things, did we not? Now, at first, we just did deepening things with your voice. That's right, a little more and so on. Now we're going to start associating things to it, the touches and maybe your voice or different words and so on. It doesn't really matter. You can be as creative as you like. Okay? So now we're deepening. So those are three core things that we've been doing so far. Would that be fair to say? And at some point, at the end of all this thing, let's go this, at some point, we bring them back in whatever way you choose to. We can talk more about that as we go along. All easy so far, right? So I would like to focus, let's do this one, there you go, on this step, the deepening one, in order to explore or experiment with the law of associations. You see me use a few touches. Is touch the only way you can associate something? Right? Everyone just try this a second. Close your eyes. Find some comfort. The sound of that phone. Just notice the sound of that phone and how much more comfortable you can feel. Each ring taking you a little more comfortable. And what was once disturbing is actually quite pleasant. Is it not? Whenever you bring yourself back, and someone bring me that phone, because I do really want to answer it. Is that your phone? Oh, I was going to say, is it still ringing? Bring it out. Bring it this way. Come to me. Oh, you are so lucky. Oh, you are so lucky. Folks, check your phones, please. But you notice how, let me ask you this. When you started closing your eyes, you just started feeling a little bit calm, yes? And then the phone kicked in. Did you find that a little bit disturbing at any point? Yeah. Hands up. Did it stay disturbing when I started making suggestions around the phone? How many people actually enjoyed the sound of the phone afterwards? And that was what, within 20, 30 seconds? I haven't even done any proper hypnosis. Did I do my compliance? Did I do a proper induction? Did I do a proper deepening? I didn't do anything properly, and yet at least half the room went from aversion to the sound to finding it pleasant. Do you see the law of association working? Yes? All right, folks, you have 2 minutes. Get some compliance, do an induction, and then deepen in at least 3 different ways. In other words, 3 different sets of associations, bring them deeper each time. And one of them may well be the process of getting them from bent up all over to being straight or something like that. Or not, who knows? Off you go. Let me ask you a question. Was that easy, yes? Who here enjoyed all these random touching, tapping, sounds, and all the rest of it? Right? Isn't that weird? You sit in a restaurant, people go, whoo, whoo, ah. You're thinking, what the hell? Waiter, can you get the police, please? This guy's knocked right in the head. In hypnosis, you're creating a new kind of reality. It's a special reality in which things are allowed to exist that are not normally allowed to exist in your day-to-day reality. Does that make sense? It's kind of like that holodeck in Star Trek, where things that normally are not. And things that aren't allowed to be can. And if you find something that can be good enough, long enough, then what wasn't will be exactly that. Because it's better, isn't it? That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But here's the strange part. It makes sense in a way that you can't make sense out of it. So you understand what I'm saying, even though you have no idea what I just said. Would that be fair to say? So some part of you must be learning something, knowing something that the rest of you hasn't caught up to yet. That's the part of you I invite you to bring forward more, because that's where the real genius in hypnosis sits. Now that really does make sense, doesn't it? So what we're going to do now, go ahead, is it a quick question? How do you know that you don't know? I don't know. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start focusing a little bit on the language, and then we'll have some fun with this. Everyone hear the concept of power words? Hands up if you have. Hands up if you have not. Great. Both of you are in the right place. Power words is basically a way of using hypnotic language, so you can flow with language and do all kinds of wonderful things, right? But in order to be able to use power words properly, you can't learn them, memorize them, and write scripts down with it, because you'll interfere with your own process. You have to be able to just let it come. In order to do hypnosis well, I mean really well, you have to feel like you're standing on the edge of something, and you're about to fall off. If you take a comfortable step back, you can do good hypnosis. If you take too big a step, you fall off, and maybe you fly. But you're right on that edge. That's where genius begins. Who would like to start finding out how to stand on that edge? Anyone? Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to move that around the room and do a couple of things. Please be very careful of the thing in the middle. In fact, can we have 2 assistants to stand by the table just in case people get too excited? 2 assistants, anyone? Steve, I'll need you to stay with the gentleman over here just because of the wheelchair. So can we have maybe Sean and one else? Johnny, come on up. There you go. Good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start warming you up a little bit. I want to have you guys walking around the room as fast as you can without bumping into things and poking people in the eye or anything like that. Just walk around the room and with determination. Have you ever seen, like, was it the Disney's The Sorcerer's Apprentice? You know how a sorcerer just, with conviction, will point at something and go, bah, and it'll start doing things, right? With the same kind of conviction, with the conviction of a true master hypnotist, I would like you to point at things and name them. Well, exactly what they are. This is a floor, isn't it? This is a wall. This is a rather Art Deco-y sort of ceiling. But I want you to go around pointing with absolute conviction, with volume, the louder the better, at a point where your words start tripping up a little bit. And keep going at that rate. Does that make sense to everyone? Now, as you're doing all this, I want you to keep a half an ear out in the back of your mind, because I will stop you as soon as I see you doing exactly what I need you to be doing, and we'll go straight into something else. Does that make sense? Yeah. Off you go. Who is starting to feel like it's kind of a weird exercise, but the more gusto you put into it, the more it kind of pushes you to an edge where it's kind of almost a little difficult to verbalize what you're doing. Is that correct? Anyone feeling that? Excellent. That's exactly the right place. Stay there. Now what I want you to do is to use that simple word, because. Everyone can say the word because? Because. Of the wonderful things he does. That's right. Only now, I want you to use that word because to associate 2 completely random ideas. And the more random, the more crazy, the better. There's a universe out there because pixies eat dust. Does that make sense to anyone? If it does, take your medication. If it does not, you're in the right place. The floor is pink because the stars have shiny things that are bright. I'm hopefully making less and less sense. And I want you to go around, and I want you to meet someone. You'll shake them by the hand. You'll make one of these wonderful statements like, the sky is blue because your smile has power. And then they'll go right back at you and say something similarly unusual. And as soon as that happens, you bow respectfully as you do to a master hypnotist. You move on and you find someone else and do exactly the same thing. Are you ready? Speed, volume, and enthusiasm of the essence. Off you go. Was that fun? Yes. Do you feel yourself a little bit on an edge? Yes. Who wants to go flying a little bit further? We're going to use the same principle with the word and, right? Santa Claus is great and I know it. Well, that makes too much sense. But to make it a little bit more challenging, we're going to use both the word because and the word and, mixing in these X and Y's, which are completely random things, in any way that pleases you, provided it makes no sense. The ships are in the harbor because God is merciful. And my shoes are great. Do you think I planned that one? You're right. So you understand the exercise. Same exact thing, only slightly longer version, because and. What's the first word? God. What's the second word? And. Together they are? Because. Off you go. Who's having fun? Hands up. Excellent. Who's making no sense? Who feels like they're in a room full of madmen? Yes, excellent. All right, was it easy so far with those two, because and? Yes? Well, let's throw another one in. As soon as X, Y. As soon as the water pixies come, fairy dust will be free. Easy? Only this time, of course, you're doing all three. Oh, now we're having some fun. Because the woods are full of dark things, and I know someone inside. As soon as you realize your shoes aren't here, they will be. Off you go. Who's getting a little bit giddy with delight? Anyone? Who's feeling more and more on that edge we'll be talking about? But isn't it a fun thing, especially when you fall over? Yes? So, 3 of these is pretty easy to do, isn't it? Right? You've been kind of cycling through them. Who wants a challenge? Anyone? Yes! Let's do 2 more. Have 5 words of power all at once. Let's go with this one. X. X, which means Y. The world is small, which means it's big. Of course, that makes sense, doesn't it? And then we're going to add, let's have an easy one here. X, when, Y. So we'll get rid of this, we'll get rid of this, and we have it all there. 5 words of power. The first is what? Because. Well read. The second is? And. Third is? Yes. Fourth is? Please. Fifth is? When. And you know how to put them together, don't you? Yes. Off you go. So how are you guys doing? Everyone having fun? Yes. Feel like in a room full of madmen? Let me ask you this. Was it easier, though still difficult, to do all these 5 things than you thought it would be? Yes? And is it kind of a little difficult to speak nonsense? Yeah? It is, isn't it? So I'm going to make it a little bit easier for you, but not a lot. And I'll make it more difficult, but it'll be real easy at that point. Is that fair enough? Okay. Well, the first thing I want you to do is take this idea. Let's have a look at the little nice colors. Let's take this idea of the X in the equation. And I want you to put something in there that... No, let's show around, actually. Let's do it this way around. Let's take the Y in the equation and make something meaningful out of it. So the X is still completely random. Pixies, fairy dust, universes, shoes, submarines, sandwiches, whatever you want. For the why, I would like you to make a specific suggestion. What is one of the simplest suggestions you can give to someone? Sleep is one, relax is another. Let's go with relax right now because it gets a little repetitive saying sleep over and over. So now what you want to do is, in place of the why, get the idea of relaxation in any way that you can. It doesn't even need to make sense properly, right? For example, there's a bus outside because you can relax. Does that make sense? Yes, but no. It's kind of weird, isn't it? It almost makes sense, but you shouldn't, right? And your relaxation is natural as soon as you realize, as soon as your genes are on fire, you'll relax even more. Which means your relaxation is complete. The ship will move when you relax. So do you see how I'm fitting that idea of relaxation in any conceivable way, and some inconceivable ones too? And the only thing that's is staying random is the X. The Y, which is the relaxation, is staying constant. Does that make sense to you guys? No, but yes. That's a good answer. Good question.
So you want us to still go through all of...
I want all 5 power words, these are kind of power words up here, to be used. You can use them in any order you wish, provided all 5 are used per utterance. There's a world out there because your learning is important. The ship is, and you can learn. As soon as your shoes change color, you'll learn even more. There is air, which means you're learning. There is a table that is magnificent when you learn. Thank you. Does that make more sense? And I'm making it more difficult by choosing the same order. You can make any order you wish, as long as those 5 power words are being cycled through. There's another quick question, then we'll do the exercise.
Does it mean that all the 5 you have to include the word relax?
Yes, the Y's have to be replaced with relax. The X, you can have whatever you feel like. I don't care what it is. Honestly, I do not care. Does that make more sense? No, but yes, right? Off you go. Who enjoyed that? Was that a little bit easier to do than the one before? Yes? Now, isn't this weird? You're actually constrained. You have less choices. And yet it gets easier the more constrained you get. Isn't that strange? Would you like to make it, for me to make it harder so it gets easier again? Would you like that? So, let's take the X now and put another trance theme like relaxation in. What else do you feel when you have gone into trance? What kind of things have you been experiencing? Calm, yes? So we'll take the idea of calmness. And we'll take the idea of relaxation. And now we use our power words to combine them into a smooth, streamless stream of ideas. You can be calm because you can relax. Calmness and relaxation are both natural to you. And as soon as you feel the smallest amount of calming inside, your body will relax. You can calm your mind, can you not? Which means relaxation comes naturally. And you will feel calm when you relax. Because relaxation is so natural that as soon as you feel a small amount of calmness begin, there is more relaxation than before. And that means that the calmness gets to grow more and more. The calmer you get, the more you relax. The more you relax, the deeper the calmness moves through you. And every time you feel that calmness passing through you like a wave. Notice how much more relaxed you get. And you do you not? Is there anything I've just done here that you could not do? You've been doing it. In fact, you've been doing the harder version because you've been trying to not make sense. And it's easier to make sense than not. So go ahead and make some sense now. Sit with a partner this time and speak to them meaningfully about calmness and relaxation, being sure to use as many of those power words as often as possible. And then, when you've said your piece, they get to do you. Off you go. So how are you enjoying that, folks? Was that good? Who found that easier to do than the other exercises? Think about it, folks. You're doing more, it's harder, but it's easier to do, isn't it? Have I fulfilled my promise so far? It's going to carry on like this. Who here, being the subject, you know that you're listening to these wonderful things people are saying and so on, who has sat down and thought, this person's pretty good. I kind of like what they're saying, and it makes a strange kind of sense. Anyone notice this? I invite you to consider the possibility that you're one of the people that everyone else is thinking that about. Because once you understand the simple, power words are simple, aren't they? You realize that these aren't the only 5 power words in the world. If you use these up, it's not that you can't do hypnosis anymore, right? Technically, these are known as conjunctions. They use the law of associations in sentences. They combine things in sentences. So you have hundreds, if not thousands of these in the English language. Every language will have variations of these. It just allows you to put concepts together. And when those concepts are hypnotic in nature, like the relaxation and the calmness, that means the mind is constantly being turned towards a hypnotic theme. And how else, or rather, what else can emerge from that than hypnosis? There's an old principle I'd like you to become familiar with, which is this. Where attention goes, energy flows. And by that I don't mean some kind of qigong, strange magic type thing. Whether you believe in that or not is really immaterial for our purposes here. The energy that we're talking about is the mental energy. And you've all felt it at some point, haven't you? You're elated, it comes up. You're depressed, it goes down. You work hard, it's exhausted. You sleep well, it's rejuvenated. Would that not be fair to say? Whatever that mental energy is, whether you want to think of it in terms of glucose or you want to think of it in metaphysical terms, I don't care. That is the stuff that we work with. Where attention goes, energy flows. So we're going to move people's attention through ideas until those ideas become experiences. Those experiences become real, that creates a reality, and that is what hypnosis does. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Can you all do this? It may take a little more practice for some than others to get smooth, but you can all do this, can you not? Is that right? If you can do this, then you have the essence of what it takes to move someone's attention, which means you can move their mental energy to the way you need it to be, which means you can do hypnosis. You are now hypnotist. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. Because you just got there. I know, that's what the next day is about. So today, you're already ahead of the game. You know how to do an induction, do you not? You know how to speak to them hypnotically, do you not? What more is there to hypnosis than this? The rest is just icing on the cake. It's doing this better, more elaborately, more sophisticatedly, with slightly more nuanced ideas. But this is the heart of what you'll be doing. That's easy, isn't it? Now, before you all leave, there's one task I'm going to ask you to perform before you get outside. Assistants, can I all have you in numerical order again where you were early on today? So wherever you were early on when people met you, please stand there again, assistants. What I'd like you to do in order to leave the seminar is walk up to your assistant and do 2 things. Number 1, you will tell your assistant the one thing that stands out most in your mind that you learned this morning. That's easy to do, right? The second thing you're going to do is grab someone else in your group, because they're all going to be congregating anyway. You can do this before or after you do your first thing. So the second thing could be first if you really wanted to. And you're going to do an instant induction on them. Nothing crazy, just sleep, deeper, deeper, great, feeling relaxed, come on back. It should take you 20 seconds, 10 seconds. And then you can go to lunch. Easy? So go ahead, find your assistants, and in 90 minutes, we're back here again, 90 minutes from now.